Oh, hi, Mark. I just got done recording my Dolly review, and I thought, while I'm in the video recording spirit, let me record the next trilogy of trilogies. If you are unaware, I started a series. It's going to be a three-part series called Trilogy of Trilogies, where I talk about three trilogies. I dive into each movie very briefly, individually, tell you what I think about them. I just thought it would be a fun idea. Okay, so in the first Trilogy of Trilogies video, we did classic trilogies, the classic, really American trilogies, and we covered Romero's Original Dead trilogy, we covered the Evil Dead trilogy, and we covered Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. And I may be the dumbest man alive, and I forgot that In the Mouth of Madness was in the Apocalypse trilogy, and I had to pause the video in the middle of making it and look up the third movie in the Apocalypse trilogy, despite the fact that In the Mouth of Madness is my favorite movie in that trilogy. Okay. Anywho, so in this video, we're doing Italian trilogies because this is like the only country, I would say, that has like enough trilogies in it that I am aware of that I could cover three of them. And so first of all, we're going to talk about the Dario Argento's Animal trilogy. These are this is more of the style of John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, in which there are three films that are completely unrelated in plot, but are related in theme or plot elements, or in this case, I think it's just the title, guys. I really do. Technically, the subgenre is also the same. They are all three gialli. This film spans from The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, and Cat o' Nine Tails. I will say I'm not as familiar with this trilogy as the others. The film that I am the least familiar with being The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I'm also not particularly fond of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Outside of being very well shot, I find it a little boring. And I say that as someone who really does love Dario Argento. My cat's name is Argento. But I'm not huge on The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Sorry. Four Flies on Grey Velvet, on the other hand, which I believe is the second film in the trilogy, I actually really like. And it's mostly for the fact that it's not as serious as most giallo films are. And of course, gialli are often cheesy and sort of, they're very dated. Pretty much all of them are extremely dated, but they do take themselves very seriously very often. These aren't really movies that are comedic. You know, they aren't really like slasher-ish, where you have like a bunch of movies like The Mutilator and Madman that are just like, we know this is stupid, it's fun. Four Flies on Grey Velvet doesn't go anywhere stupid, but it's fun, and I think it actually springs for like more jokes than the average giallo film. So that's something I appreciate about Four Flies on Grey Velvet. I do like that movie. And then Cat o' Nine Tails is probably the best movie of the trilogy in my opinion, and there's going to be some Italian cinema douchebag in the comment section going, actually, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage is obviously better. You don't understand because you haven't watched the filmography of these 18 directors that I'm going to tell you to watch. One is a Romanian fellow named Shut Up! Oh, Christ. God damn it, I hate you. I hate people like you. Oh man, I had one guy do that on a video of, it was a review I did of a French film, I think it was French, called The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears, and I hated that film. Granted, it was a very bad review, that I recorded. It was really bad because I pretty much just talked about how I didn't even really talk about it. I just said over and over again, this is pretentious. I hate this. This is stupid. And I said a couple of things that were pretentious and stupid that I found in the movie. And I had some self-flatulent sniffing dork in the comments talking about how, oh, well, you actually don't understand, because, I mean, have you ever even seen Kablonsky's filmography? I don't think he actually said Kablonsky. I don't know who the fuck he was talking about. But have you ever actually even seen Kablonsky's filmography? Well, I mean, you obviously wouldn't get it. Go back and watch. I mean, God, you should just go back to watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Shut the fuck up. Oh my God, go sniff your own shit somewhere else, buddy. No one cares that you are so just, oh man, I'll bet you are the sparkling light of every conversation. I'll bet you're really fun at parties and you're not at all an insufferable douchebag. I don't know how I got off into that tangent. I don't like pretension. I'm really not a big fan of pretentious people. They make me feel icky. They're very cringy. Cringy is like the worst sin you can commit. And there's also probably a bunch of people who think I'm cringy. That's fine, dude. I just don't see it. You are free to hate me though. Okay, so yeah, I like Cat o' Nine Tails the most. I like the story the most. You have the old blind man and the girl that he's taken in as a daughter. I don't know. I don't think that's his biological daughter in the movie. It's an interesting story and an interesting way of storytelling. And then what's funny is the story was so great, Argento did it again when he made Dark Glasses, which is a film about a blind prostitute who goes blind after experiencing a violent car accident and then takes in a kid who's in danger from a killer. And yeah, anyway, they got to solve the mystery of who the killer is. And it's like the same premise, just like, little spice added, a couple little spices. Okay, so that's all for the Animal trilogy. And then mostly I just talked about how much I hate people in that. And then we have another Dario Argento trilogy, which is Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. This is a great trilogy, at least most of it is. So the first film in the trilogy, Suspiria, came out in 1977, and it is by far my favorite. I love Suspiria. The colors are delicious. If you could eat a movie, Suspiria would be 5-star cuisine. It would taste like Gushers and Hopes and Dreams. I don't know. Don't even question me. It just would. Suspiria is one of... No. You know what? Shut up. It's the most beautiful movie ever made. That is my personal opinion, of course. I'm sure there are a lot of people who disagree with me, but I love the colors so much in Suspiria. And if that makes me an idiot, so be it. That's fine. That is totally okay. I like colorful things. Sue me. I have ADHD. If a thing is shiny, then I'm probably gonna dig it. And you cannot get more shiny than Suspiria. On top of the color palette in Suspiria and just all the cool, weird lighting, you have the beautiful sets, the dance academy, that I think it's just like a stretch of sidewalk, like in Germany. But you have it shot so goddamn beautifully from like a far out shot, and he's walking along the cobblestone path. This blind man. Why are there so many blind people in Dario Argento projects? And you see the moon in the background and all the shops lined up. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And then you have the shots of the woods with all the weird colors coming in on the trees, all the rain, literally everything in this movie, down to like something as stupid and simple as when Susie Banyan pours her glass of wine down the drain and you see the way that the wine stains the porcelain. I love it. Everything. When I look at something in this movie, I love it. And it's not just the visuals that I love about this movie. I'm just getting a little lost in the sauce on those right now because I truly do adore this movie. This is one of my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time by a country mile. Um, but yeah, anyway, it's gorgeous. And then I really also dig the story in this movie, the whole conspiracy surrounding the witches and of course, the introduction of the three mothers and that whole story element. I adore the creepy nature of everything. I love the score. That is one of the scariest, creepiest horror scores I've ever heard in my life. There's and probably like the single most underrated horror score of all time as well. Because like when we talk about horror scores, everyone jumps to Halloween, which it's a great score. I'm not saying Halloween isn't a great score. And it sounds like I've been talking a lot of shit on Halloween recently. I swear to God I'm not. I love Halloween. But it's that very simple but there are a lot of different layers to it in Suspiria, and I think it the bam 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 bam. I fucked that all up. I can hear it in my head, but then I go to do it with my mouth. It's a little more complex than the Halloween score. Okay, I'm sorry. And then you have the whispers in the background. The when it goes witch, that's a little much maybe, but I like it. I dig it. I dig that whole score. I dig the way the movie looks. I think it's creepy in spots, especially towards the end where her friend comes out with like pins stuck in her eyes. That's creepy as shit. I love that movie. Moving on to the next one. Inferno, also just a beautiful film. I love Inferno visually. Now I will say I'm not as big of a fan of Inferno narratively. This movie gets a little more into the story. It's a little more involved, and that's not to say that I don't like that in movies in a general sense. But here it feels a bit drawn out. The movie does unfortunately go on a little too long for my taste. So it's not that I dislike Inferno by any stretch of the imagination. I really do like Inferno. It is nowhere on the level of Suspiria. Whereas I personally put Suspiria as like a 10 out of 10, even though I accept that movie's not perfect. I understand. It's just I love it so much, it's got to be a 10 out of 10. Inferno's like a 7.5, an 8. A 7. I don't really know. I would have to go back and rewatch it, but because it does feel so slow and drawn out to me, it doesn't get rewatched by me very often. I don't even own a copy of Inferno, which is criminal. I should absolutely own a copy of Inferno. That is something I should do, but I can't just spend all my money on horror movies. I have a mortgage and shit. I hate it. But I like my house, so, I guess I have to keep paying that, unfortunately. So yeah, I do like Inferno. Moving on. Then we have The Mother of Tears. What in the fuck happened, buddy? What went on? Is everything okay at home? What the shit? What happened? Oh, now listen, I understand that during this time period, Argento was slowing down for sure in his film qualities. I saw The Card Player. I saw Do You Like Hitchcock? I want to say I saw one or two others from the time period. I didn't finish The Mother of Tears. I will say I do not hate it. That's not why I didn't finish it. I was very tired, and I just haven't gone back and watched the rest of it since. But the fact that Argento has a movie, let alone a movie in the Three Mothers trilogy, that I don't feel instantly compelled to go back and revisit is a bit heart-wrenching. That sucks a lot. And it sucks a big part of this franchise's prestige out. Like, this could have been one of the franchises, trilogies. This could have been like one of the all-time great horror trilogies. I personally just don't think it is, because Mother of Tears is so not good. It's not all bad, but it certainly is nowhere near on the level of Suspiria or Inferno. Okay, holy hell. One more. And this is my favorite trilogy of the bunch. Eventually, I want posters of that trilogy right up there on that wall, right behind the TV. That is Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy. Another trilogy that's an unofficial trilogy tied together loosely by themes. The Gates of Hell trilogy is like Lucio Fulci at his absolute best. For those of you who are unaware, Fulci is my favorite director of all time. He just has so many movies for me that hit, that I feel kind of compelled he needs to be there. And I do love his style. I do love his affinity for practical effects. Like, it is, not even to mention the atmosphere in most of his films. Fulci movies are so special to me, and these movies especially are very special just because of that weird, surreal atmosphere that hangs over everything, that's aided by the fog. Often these movies are shot with like a glossy sheen, like is done with House by the Cemetery. I don't know what that effect is with the camera. I'm calling it a glossy sheen, but it looks almost dreamlike. And in House by the Cemetery, that's in full effect. Of course, the trilogy starts out with what I think is probably my favorite of the trilogy. I can go back and forth sometimes, though, but City of the Living Dead is just so good. The atmosphere in that movie, it's like a perfect, like, October Halloween-y watch because of just all the graveyards and the gaunt, poorly makeup done corpses with the pale white skin and the purple around their eyes, and the all the fog. It's beautiful. It's beautiful in a very uniquely horror fan sort of way. I love the atmosphere in this movie, and I love the way it's shot. I really like the actor. That we all know who I'm talking about, and I always forget the guy's name, but the guy that's always... Christopher George, there we go. He's always smoking his cigar. I like that guy a lot in pretty much everything. He's just so nonchalant. This is a very cheesy movie, and you don't watch it because it's the most serious thing of all time or because it's a masterpiece. It absolutely isn't. There are issues with the acting. There are issues with the plot, for sure. But I don't care. And the gore is top notch. This is my favorite gore in any Fulci movie, and like it contains multiple of my favorite kill scenes of all time in any movie. With between like the skull rip, which is just nasty, just like squishing the brains in betwixt the fingertips, and then oh god, that is actually nasty. The woman puking her guts up and like bleeding from her eyes. If you don't know how that scene was shot, look that up. because that's gross. I think it was like a lamb or something that they had slaughtered, and that's why I say look it up, because I'm not like entirely familiar with the background on it. I vaguely remember something that I have read somewhere. But it was I think it was like a lamb that they had just slaughtered, and they literally shoved its innards in her mouth, and I think they said they were still warm, and she had to fake throw them up. That is so beyond disgusting, and it's awesome. Also, the maggot scene is really gross. Those were real maggots. It's really, really nasty. Anyway, moving on from City of the Living Dead and on to the next film in the trilogy, which both The Beyond and House by the Cemetery came out in 1981. I'm pretty sure. So I'm not sure which one came out first, but I believe it was The Beyond that came and then House by the Cemetery. So that's the order I'm going to talk about them. The Beyond is also great. This movie has like great Lovecraftian vibes because it is definitely inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. I would say this and House by the Cemetery are the most heavily inspired of his films by H.P. Lovecraft. In this movie, you have like the Book of Avon or whatever, very, very Lovecraft-like. The depiction of the afterlife, I love that. The whole going blind from seeing that's something that's beyond your comprehension. I love that. Very Lovecraftian. The gore in this movie is great. I don't care about the characters that much in this movie, to be honest. The Beyond is my least favorite of the bunch, which is damn near blasphemous to, I feel like, most Fulci fans, because I think most people's favorite Fulci movie is The Beyond. The Beyond's like top 5 for me, maybe top 6 or 7, but it's up there for sure. It isn't my favorite of the trilogy by any means. But there's a lot to love about The Beyond. There are a lot of really cool shots in The Beyond too, like the blind woman on the bridge, of course, is iconic. The whole spider sequence is iconic, even though you can tell at points that they're using like rubber spiders. You scared of spiders? You scared of rubber spiders? You scared of rubber spiders on strings? Man, you are one scared cat. Yeah, they're using rubber spiders in that. Sorry, that was from Friday the 13th, part 5. But they're using rubber spiders in that scene mixed with like real spiders, but you can really tell when it's the rubber spiders. I still love that scene though. It's great. The scene in the basement with Joe where he gets, I think it's like a nail in the eye. That's gnarly. My God, the scene in the mortuary with I think it's the little girl and her mother, where her mother, she sees something, she gets frightened, she falls, and she knocks this thing of acid off the shelf, and she is knocked unconscious during the fall, and the acid just slowly dissolves her face in front of her child. Brilliantly deranged. That is really awesome stuff. Really twisted, but great. And then we move on to House by the Cemetery. House by the Cemetery is the other one where I think like it's kind of interchangeable with City of the Living Dead at times, for me personally, for top contender of this trilogy. House by the Cemetery is a movie that I absolutely adore. And this one's not so much for the gore. There are some good kills in here, but that's not really why I love House by the Cemetery. This is one of the most surreal movies ever made. There is not a lot about this movie that makes sense. There also seems to be a lot of plot details that are missing. They reference like the husband having been there before a couple of times. The husband and the babysitter seem to be making this strange eye contact that almost feels like it's hinting at maybe he had gone there before they moved there. It was unfaithful to his wife with this babysitter, but none of that is ever explicitly said. And I like that because it just adds to how dreamlike the movie is. And while you could very easily go, that's just shitty writing, that means that the script's kind of bad. Fair. That is a fair criticism. That's just not how I feel about the movie. I understand that might not be great writing, that we're jumping around a lot with things that aren't really addressed in the movie, but I like that it feels like a dream. And the whole movie does. Bob's weird little voice actress, because he is voiced by a woman, a full-grown woman voicing a little boy. It's really odd. And they did that kid super dirty, because I'm pretty sure it's the same chick that voices him in Manhattan Baby. Poor Bob. It is not Bob's fault. Free my man Bob from his terrible dub jobs. But that also kind of makes it even more dreamlike and weird. Everything just kind of feels like a disjointed puzzle with this movie, where some of the pieces are missing and your brain just kind of fills in the blanks. I love that. Surrealism is something I'm huge on, as long as it is done right. Okay. I think I'm done now. I've talked about all of the trilogies I was talking about today. It should be very obvious The Gates of Hell is by far and away my favorite of the three. Suspiria, obviously, is a huge one from the Three Mothers trilogy, and I might even like Suspiria more than any of the Gates of Hell movies, but that's just one movie from that trilogy. The Gates of Hell as a trilogy is a way better trilogy. Of course, taking into context that they're all separate movies. I don't mean that they flow together better as a trilogy, though for the record, the Three Mothers trilogy doesn't really flow that well as a trilogy either. Like, they aren't that connected. They're, like, connected by a couple little, oh yeah, this happened that was apparently in the same timeline. That's cool, right? It's like, yeah, I guess, man. I suppose. It almost feels like an unofficial trilogy is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, guys, if you stuck through this whole thing, thank you a whole ton. And there will be one more of these videos where I will be exploring modern horror trilogies, new age shit, modern in air quotes, because not all of it's super, super modern, but everything is, I think, post-2000. So you got that to look forward to if you liked this video. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you on the next one.